Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where you get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Discover data-driven strategies and learn from a wealth of experience so that you can take your retirement to the next level. Now, here's your host. He was once bitten by a harbor seal, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
Okay, we're back on Personal Pension Radio. We are in the studio with Mark Miller.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, actually. So Mark Miller actually got to experience life after rain in California. We had big rain yesterday, some rain coming again today. And it's not raining today, but you got to experience the joy and the after effects of rain in California, right?
Yes, because we haven't received a lot of rain over the past several years. It becomes a major news story, and the freeway is pretty much shut down, and it's a nightmare trying to get around.
It's amazing. We definitely don't know how to drive in California. That is amazing. So we are here in Mr. Foley's van down by the river. We change locations all the time, but we actually pulled ourselves back down here to our favorite little spot down by the river. Mr. Foley let us borrow his van. So we're here, Personal Pension Radio, every week. We release our episodes on Monday. So make sure that you've got that in your Stitcher app and in your iTunes podcast app. You can find us there. Now, just a quick disclosure before I forget, because I keep rolling right into this. Mark's really excited about our topic today, so I got to not forget to hit the short disclosure. Just a reminder, don't act on advice that you hear on the radio or TV or on a podcast for that matter. This is a situation where it's your personal finances. Make sure that you get personalized recommendations, personalized conversations.
Professional recommendations.
Professional. Oh, you mean from somebody that's actually licensed and certified to give out that advice. Oh, that would be an interesting thing to do.
That would be good.
Right. You know what? On that topic, because I am a little excited about it as well, you would never walk into an office to get surgery, to get cosmetic surgery, dental work, or anything where someone was actually there pretending to be a licensed, certified doctor.
No, we've seen the results. In fact, I think there's a television show called Botched.
Exactly.
About plastic surgery.
About plastic surgery being done by people who were not really supposed to be doing it. And yet, how many times have Mark and I heard someone taking advice from a financial entertainer on the radio or on TV, and when we ask them, well, why did you make that decision? Oh, well, I heard it on the radio.
Yeah, no, that happens all the time, and people make decisions that they get advice on the radio that is general in nature. And I'm not saying that it's bad advice. I think that from a general standpoint, it's probably mainstream advice, but it doesn't really. If they haven't seen the whole picture, it doesn't bode well to take advice from someone on the radio.
No,
unless they've seen the whole picture, they've got to
exactly. So get yourself over to Personal Pension Radio. personalpensionradio.com. You can contact us there. You can request your own personalized conversation. We are licensed throughout the United States in a variety of different states, and if we're not licensed in your state, we'll get licensed in your state.
Yeah, and kind of to continue this conversation, it's probably why America is in this huge retirement crisis, is that, and it's really more a retirement income crisis, but it's because people get their information from the internet, they listen to a radio program, they listen to a podcast, wherever that they may listen to this information, and then they act on that information without having the whole picture in mind.
Right, without taking that most critical next step, which is a full diagnostic review, if you will. Like you go to a doctor, I mean, before you can even get in to see the doctor, you've got to fill out 20 pages in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Your own medical history, and then you've got to have your height and your weight and your blood pressure, and you've got to do all of these various things prior to the
all
doctor.
this stuff has been getting my blood boiling for the last several months as we've gone through this, and so
I know I won't
go there yet.
Especially driving in today, enjoying the traffic. Mark is just his blood pressure was at an issue right now.
Well, the wonderful state of California decided that to save for the drought, that they would spray wood chips all over the hills that line the freeway. Never thinking that the wood chips would wash down onto the freeway.
Oh, right.
So
yeah,
the big
very
rains
smart.
yesterday, now we have wood all over the freeway.
Now you have wood chips on the freeway.
Another brilliant move from the state of California. We spent millions of dollars spraying wood all over the freeway.
We're the government. We're
Fantastic.
here to help. Hey, before we jump in, I realized today as we were preparing for this and I was going to interview Mark today that we hadn't really gotten a good solid introduction to Mark Miller. So I want to make sure just let's give Mark an opportunity to do this. Tell us about family. Tell us about where you're from, kids, favorite hobbies. Let's get to know you.
Yeah, no, I'm a native Californian, so I don't know if that's good or bad.
Wow, that's a rarity. You'll be in a museum someday.
Yeah, someday. I'm either a glutton for punishment, or I'm still happy to be here. California is a great place. I mean, obviously it has its problems, but I love California. You can ski.
You can go water skiing. You can go to the beach, go to the mountains.
You do everything. So
you can roast marshmallows by the forest fires.
Absolutely,
exactly.
Absolutely. Our seasons are a little bit different, but
So, tell us about family. Who's the boss at home?
Clearly, I'm married way out of my league. Way out of my league. I've been married 31 years to my wife, Christina. I have 3 great children and 3 grandchildren.
Outstanding.
Son-in-law, daughter-in-law. Things are great.
Let's see, your son. One of your kids getting to be quite the YouTube and music sensation in his own mind.
Yeah,
right,
I do.
Right?
I do have check him out, please. Go to Seagoat. There's a frivolous plug.
Seagoat, and that's not like the letter C. That's
like the ocean animal.
The ocean animal. Seagoat. Okay.
He's trying to make it in the music business. Clearly, I'm biased. He's good, but it's a very difficult industry to break into.
Hey, no, that's great to know.
He has a job.
He does have a job.
Yeah, so to try to make it, but he's following his dream.
Excellent. Now you also are you permit yourself every now and then hobbies. Favorite hobbies?
Water, just water in general. We love to go and get on the boat or get out in the water. My wife and I play tennis nearly every night.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now that's great. And Mark is also an avid cyclist. He and his wife both ride. They ride more miles sometimes than I drive.
So, we love to ride our bikes. We absolutely love to ride our bikes.
And they don't have training wheels on them. So
no, and they're road bikes. We're not mountain bikers. We're road cyclists. So we're road warriors, and
awesome.
We love that.
Well, I'm trying to kind of go through that initial conversation with Mark to bring his blood pressure down just a little bit. We have the defibrillator ready to go just in case. Because I'm going to ask
some caffeine here, so I'm good with.
You're ready.
With a diet Dr. Pepper. So
I actually wanted to interview Mark today because something's really actually been bothering him, and it wasn't just the traffic on the freeway. So maybe you can kind of give us an opener to that and what's been on your mind.
Yeah, well, Kraig did call me this morning when I was stuck in traffic, and I think I unloaded's probably a good word for it on Kraig. That I just feel like nobody is telling the truth anymore.
Well, I mean, nobody. Like who specifically do you feel like is in that position? Is it just the guy at the grocery store, or?
Yeah, that could be. We could have a really broad discussion on that. But I mean, specifically when we get to the investment community of the world, of the United States, of where we live, I just feel like that the truth is just not being. And maybe truth is too hard of a word, but I don't. I feel like we're not disclosing the full idea behind what it is that we do what we do.
Well, perhaps
and they do what they do.
Right. I mean, are you referring to, as it relates to the truth, as it relates to what we're up against, this retirement income crisis? Is that what you're referring to? Is that they're not actually sharing the complete story?
No, I think there's an internal conflict that they have, that the investment community has, that if they were to share what would actually be the absolute best option, or at least a portion of that best option for the client, that it would cost them money. It's that simple. They have an internal conflict.
Well, can you? I mean, give me an example of what you feel, in your opinion, is one of those conflicts. I mean,
well, so if I have money invested, I do. I have it with a money manager. That money manager is paid through fees that are generated from those accounts. Is that right, Kraig?
Right. Yes. So they receive compensation based on how much money is in that particular account in your case.
That's right. And you do this. So your job is to help manage that relationship and manage the risks associated with it, and try to accomplish the goal of the investor. Is that fair?
That is always the goal. Yes.
Okay. And so and for that you get paid.
Yes.
Is that correct?
If all goes well.
If all goes well, then you get paid. So that's okay. I'm totally okay with that. I'm fine with that. But then we get to the point of retirement. I've reached an age. It doesn't matter what the age is. I may be 50, 55. I'm 60, 65, 70.
Whatever that number is.
I'm ready to retire. And I have to do something now with the money that I haven't been doing before, and that's I have to start taking distributions.
Right, you have to be prepared for maintaining your lifestyle after you exit.
That's correct.
Okay, so I understand. Okay.
And we've spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about the rule that's associated with distributions.
Yes, absolutely. It's very different than those accumulation rules. So you're saying that's kind of the root of the conflict.
Well, that's part of the conflict.
Okay.
The first part is the disclosure of that rule. Because the disclosure of that rule, first and foremost, if it comes at retirement, it's almost too late. If I'm telling them at age 65 or 55, whatever age, the rule for distribution, and we're talking about the 4% rule, the 3% rule, 2.8%.
Sequence risk, all of that.
All those different rules. If I'm telling them at the point of retirement, it's too late.
Very true. You cannot affect, what you're saying is you cannot affect the necessary change so that you can access higher income if you're already at the top of the mountain.
That's right. Well, the problem is they're going to discover that rule is going to have an enormous impact on their income. They're not expecting it. Most people don't know it. Just do the math. It's simple. I saved $1 million. Then the rule is 4%, 3%, 2.8%. That means somewhere between $28,000 to $40,000 a year is the income I'm going to garner from $1 million.
Based on the standard recommendation coming from that investment community that in your opinion, has this conflict. So now, back to that conflict. How does that translate?
Well, the conflict is that well, first and foremost, and why we went that direction is that folks are going to need higher income rates. They're just not going to be able to save enough money to be able to retire on an income that's going to be able to maintain their lifestyle in retirement. And so they're going to need withdrawal rates in those 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe even higher percentages.
Right, exactly. So you're saying that as the investment community is getting paid for fees based on money that is invested, and for example, we've talked about it before, that the 401k and IRA investment world holds somewhere in the neighborhood of $17 trillion in assets.
Yeah, just do the math on the fees that would be associated with that on an annual basis.
Just it's a gigantic amount.
So to do the right thing, I feel like the money needs to be traded for an income, or we have
a
to do
portion of it. Some of it has to be traded,
which would immediately stop the income back to that advisor. And so there's this internal conflict. They have $1 million, and let's just say that the fees are 1%, and that's what the advisor is garnering.
Okay,
is 1%. So what? That's $10,000.
$10,000 a year in fees on the $1 million. But now what you're saying is that you get up to the top of the mountain, you're ready to start retirement. You need income.
That's right.
So continue with that. That's where that conflict comes in. If that's the advisor,
the advisor's got to. He's either got to let go of the asset, which means he's gonna let go of his income.
Yeah,
he's going to turn that income. He's got to allow that, or he has to relegate his clients to those 2.8 to 4% withdrawal rates.
And if they do that, they limit the amount of money being distributed,
which perpetuates their income. Now, so I see this internal conflict that they're faced with. I'm not saying that it's that they're being dishonest inherently. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they have this internal conflict. In order for me to generate enough income for my clients, I'm going to have to let go of this asset, which of course directly comes back to them and to whoever they're working with. They stop getting paid. Period.
I see where you're going with that. That the investment community has this gigantic cash cow. Let's use the retirement 401k IRA world that did not exist in 1978, and now fast forward, we have $17 trillion sitting in investments in IRAs. And it's a giant cash cow.
Absolutely.
And yet we are up against a retirement income crisis, whereas the baby boomer generation and the upcoming generations are looking towards retirement.
Well, the people who are listening, this is what gets me my blood boiling, who are listening to this podcast or who are going to radio, whatever, they're the ones that are suffering. And the advice that they are getting is just to invest and hold, invest and hold, invest and hold. That's fine. I'm not saying that's bad. What I'm saying is that the advice is really self-serving back to the investment community because they don't want to let the money go. I get it. I understand that. But to do the absolute right thing by the client, and that's where if you ask for the free report,
right, the Optimizing Retirement Income Report, it's available on Personal Pension Radio, and when you ask for that and you actually read it, study it, remember, you can choose to go into your retirement years with the herd mentality. It's there's an old saying of an old story of the cow path. I mean, I think some of us have heard of it before. The cow path, where you set the cows out to pasture. They could be out, 10 miles away, but the cows will return on the same path pretty much every single day without deviation. The herd will move on that same path. And what has happened since 1978 is that the path that the herd, us, we, the great masses that are hoping to retire someday, have been told to walk that particular path. And that particular path did not have a plan for income.
No, it's all about accumulation. And again, I am not saying that accumulation is bad. It's absolutely necessary.
It's totally necessary.
But this brings me, there's we could probably go on for a couple hours.
Okay, got to check Mark's blood pressure.
Yeah,
so we've got a nurse in the office. He's checking the blood pressure right now. Everything seems to be good. He's
giving me the bang on the chest. Clear. So it brings me to the second point of how to do this right. Would reduce their income somewhat, but the idea of allocation and correctly allocating, and we've talked about this on the climb up, which gives us the permission when we're coming down the other side of the mountain to have those higher income opportunities.
Exactly. So just to clarify,
that again would reduce their income.
Yeah, true. Very true. However, it would preserve the long-term pool of wealth in America. If we can successfully guide people through the downhill, that distribution phase, it will ultimately preserve wealth in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And it preserves it in a much more efficient manner. I mean, it's much more tax efficient, potentially, much more tax efficient depending on where they're at. And so I just feel like the message is not getting out, that there's this inherent conflict that people do not want to share the message because it will damage their personal income, and I'm not afraid, or I'm bold enough to say that, you know what, doggone it, someone's got to stand up and say, you know what, here are the facts. Yeah. This is what's happening.
Somebody, I have to say,
I'm sorry.
I've said, don't apologize for it. I think I've told people countless times, get out of line. Stop and ask yourself, why are you standing in that line? Ask the details. Ask the questions. Don't just stand in the line. Listen to a podcast like this and actually then go to the website and request a consultation and see it for yourself. I'll have a story, for example, I want to share as we wrap up, because today is a short episode because Mark's blood pressure can't handle it.
That's right.
Okay, so this is why you've got to get that personal contact, okay? So I was introduced recently to a new prospective client. This gentleman owns currently a very successful construction contracting business here in Southern California. And in 2000 and through 2007, 6, 7, he was doing really well. Business was great. And basically just couldn't be wrong. Everything in the construction world was fantastic before the recession hit. The recession hit for real estate in California in 2006 and 7. 2007, 8, it was devastating, okay? This gentleman basically lost almost everything. Had to cash in his 401ks, his investment accounts. He had to pay penalties to get money out of his retirement accounts to save his business. And according to him, he figured he was probably less than a month and a half away from complete collapse.
Wow.
And fortunately, he was able to pull out of it. He was able to hold it together and pull out of this bottom that he was at, and has seen over the last several years his business recover very nicely, even stronger than he had been before. Now, the one thing that didn't recover yet, because he was working on his business, was his retirement plan. His retirement plan was completely blown up because he was virtually 100% invested in the markets, which were crushed, and then he had to tap into those accounts to save his business. So fast forward now, he is now worried about retirement income and how he's going to actually exit. He has a valuable business that he can sell someday, but he didn't have an income plan. So he went to visit with one investment professional, and the first one, the answer was, oh, wow, you need to save a ton of money. You are really far behind, and the only way that we're going to be able to get you any kind of good income is you just need to save a ton of money.
That's comforting.
Yes. So that was it, and he thought about it. Now, he could save the amount that they were suggesting, tens of thousands of dollars a year, but he would have to sacrifice his lifestyle today with his kids and just family in general. So he can do it, but he was hoping that wasn't the only answer. So he went to visit with another investment advisor, another professional. And the answer at that time was, oh, no, you don't need to do investments. You need to pay a bunch of money into life insurance. It was a gigantic life insurance plan that has these various tax benefits, and we can set it up with your accountant, and it's going to be great, and that's the answer. Well, again, he would have to sacrifice a substantial amount of lifestyle today, and the answer was put more money in both times. And yet, those were both accumulation strategies, right?
Right.
They're not distribution strategies, because we've said this before. There is no product that fixes...
How old is he?
He's in his mid to late 50s.
Okay.
So he wanted to get out in his 60s. And after he
But he has a business, right?
He has a business. He's
maybe
doing
a sellable entity.
Totally sellable. But the piece that I was getting at is that there is no product that fixes the retirement income plan. And so he sat with me. Now I'm the third guy up, right? So I'm the third guy up, and his CPA introduces me. And he looks at me and says, "What's the investment you're going to pitch?" And I looked at him and I said, "Well, let me ask you. You started your business from scratch, yes?" "Yes." He said, "Yes." You make a very healthy living today from your business, yes? You employ quite a few people, right? Yes. So it sounds like your business is the greatest investment you've ever made. And he paused and thought about it and said, "Well, yeah, I guess you're right." And so I looked back at him and I said, "So why would I ever try and pitch you an investment? Doesn't sound like I could ever pitch you anything that's better than the one you've already got." And he said, "Well, that makes sense."
I think it's sad that he feels or felt that the last two people that he had gone to, that they were pitching something to him.
Yeah.
That, they weren't helping him understand strategy or design or planning for the end in mind. They
right.
were, hey, you ought to buy this blue car. This is a nice blue car.
It's a blue car. The answer is a blue car. You got to get a blue car. No, you're totally right. So my suggestion,
get my blood boiling.
My
again.
suggestion to him was that the answer is not a product. It is the combination of his current assets. It's a combination of the things that he already has.
That's right.
And the addition of some additional components that he doesn't have. But it has to be done in the right balance. And so what we did was we actually ran a comparison. And if you have never seen your own personal retirement income comparison, you owe it to yourself to do it yesterday.
You should see your numbers.
Do it yesterday. Do it now. Go to Personal Pension Radio and request a conversation with us. We'll run the numbers and show you what you're looking for. So bottom line, we ran the numbers based on the advice of the first two investment advisor professionals. And then we ran my numbers. And the increase in his income target for retirement, remember, that's what we're working for, right?
Right, yeah.
We want to actually have a lifestyle.
He wants a paycheck when he retires.
Yes.
I mean,
the increase was tremendous. It was it's just fantastic. He's blown away that it was possible. And the best part, he did not have to save some extraordinarily extra additional amount of money. He just had to save differently. That was it. He just had to save with a strategy, with a plan. Okay? So Mark's point really reminded me of this conversation, that the investment community's answer continues to be, oh, you just need to save more.
Well, and there's some scary things on the horizon. I mean, the Department of Labor is trying to now force this thing that they're going to call the fiduciary rule. And I believe, okay, so I'm the black helicopter conspiracy theorist guy. That the
He's wearing a black shirt, by the way, today.
Yeah, I've got a black shirt on today, black pants, black shoes,
helicopter.
black socks. But I believe the investment community is behind this, because what they're proposing is that all retirement assets, 401ks, IRAs, all will be managed
by the investment world.
Now, and then have this whole fiduciary rule.
Full disclosure for everybody, Mark does currently have a tinfoil hat on. This is his conspiracy theory. We have no facts to verify.
No, none whatsoever.
Aliens are coming to take over Wall Street. No.
But doggone it, that's, again, it's somebody taking the control out of our hands, not my hands as an advisor,
but
out
the
of
consumer.
the client, the consumer, taking the control away from them and giving it to somebody else, which, again,
that has that built-in conflict that you were talking about.
The conflict for income for the investment community, the conflict for future tax revenue to the government. Again, none of those things are inherently bad. I'm not saying that they're inherently bad.
I understand.
What I'm saying is that there's this inherent conflict, and what needs to be first and foremost is the end in mind. What is absolutely best for the consumer. and what will generate the most opportunity for income and perpetuation of those assets to my heirs.
Absolutely.
It's my money. I worked hard for it. I want to earn the income that I deserve from it, and I want to give it to my kids.
Rather than just burning the assets down
exactly.
and hoping for the best. No, I think, can you tell Mark's a little passionate about this, folks?
Well, I
think it's
people are not telling the story. We're telling it, but there's a lot of information out there that needs to be said. I think we titled this or we're going to title this episode "To Tell the Truth."
And I'm going to say we need to tell the whole truth. That's the key. That we don't want to omit certain things. And the investment community, I have to say, in Mark's opinion and mine as well, has omitted the second half of the investment journey towards retirement, which is all about distribution. So if you haven't already done so, get over to Personal Pension Radio, get the Optimizing Retirement Income Report. It's free, it's a download, it's easy to get. Study it seriously. It can mean the difference between a mediocre retirement and the one that you actually want.
Yeah, I would say, listen, we have a lot of listeners. We've had a lot of people that have contacted us. Reach out to us. There's no obligation. We're not going to put any pressure on you. Ask us not only for the free report. That's great, but get a retirement income report. Let us send you your own personal numbers, and you look at it and say what you will from it. And we can move on from that. But don't pass up this opportunity to get your numbers.
Now, I think that is a great place to end. Mark Miller, thank you for being here.
No, that's fine.
We're gonna have him take his blood pressure pill now.
Drink. I don't drink, but I mean a cold soda.
A cold soda, exactly. That is the end of the show today. Look for the next episode coming up on the following Monday, and we're really glad you're here. Thank you to everybody who's out there listening. We've got listeners now in every corner of the United States, and also points afar all the way into the Orient and Europe. It's just phenomenal. Thank you for being here. Remember to share it with your friends. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you're there, we'd appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening.